Hey there, it's Eric at X Physical Therapy, and today what I want to do is talk to you about one simple change that you can make at your setup posture to help you potentially alleviate and relieve any knee pain, hip pain, and back pain that you're having during your golf rounds, and potentially add some distance and some power with the swing. Now, this is one simple change that you can make with your setup posture, and we typically talk about setup posture because it's one of the easier things with your swing to change because it's the time when you're not moving. As our duty as physical therapists and Titleist Performance Institute medical practitioners, that's one of the things that we're potentially going to change. We're also going to ask you to make some physical changes in some of these key areas. So let's talk about the lead hip, and that's what we're going to talk about to make this important change for you. And why the lead hip is so important in the golf swing is that you need to have two things usually for a good efficient swing. You need to have adequate hip mobility or range of motion, especially in the internal rotation. So the lead hip as a right-handed golfer is going to be my left hip. So I need my left hip to be able to rotate well internally. And then I also need some good strength and stability and balance as I post and load into this lead hip and bring my weight through, okay? So if you struggle with either of those things or you don't currently have them, and there's the potential that those two issues are causing knee pain, hip pain, back pain, or potentially you're losing some distance because of that, this is the thing or the place to start. But again, we're going to want you to work on hip mobility and hip strength and some of these other postural setup, maintenance of posture, hip strength, ankle mobility, those sorts of things we're going to work on. But again, this is a quick way for you to maybe continue to play, feel a little bit more comfortable, and see some of these changes, okay? So, now, that lead hip, okay? Typically when we set up, we're going to have our foot, most of us will stay maybe slightly toed out. Some of us come a little bit more toes pointed straight forward. Some of us naturally come a little bit more toes out. So, to set yourself up, if this is your normal position, maybe the toes are a little bit more forward, one of the changes you can make to reduce the amount of internal rotation needed at the hip, if you're lacking that, or if the hip is not necessarily strong enough to handle the rotation and accept that rotation, or maybe it's more of a balance, base of support issue. The change that you can make is bring this lead leg, bring the toes out a little bit. So for me, typically I'm going to set up and I feel comfortable pretty straightforward actually, maybe slightly toed out. But if I was having some left hip, left knee, left back, or just low back issues, which I sometimes do, especially my left knee because of a lack of left hip mobility that we're working on, then I may consider taking that left toe and just bringing it out slightly. And what's going to happen is I come down and through the ball. Now I don't have to have as much internal rotation to get my pelvis and my belt buckle towards the target line. And I also have done something with my foot, which is going to widen the base of support. So from a stability and a power standpoint, having my toe out a little bit, it widens the base of support and it gives me that nice stable base to work from. Whereas if I keep my toe forward a little bit more, it's similar to walking on a balance beam and the base of support is a little bit more narrow. Now again, this is a recommendation for the setup posture in the point in time if you're having any of these issues. We're going to work on, hopefully, working the hip mobility, the hip strength, getting more balance on that lead leg, things like that. So this is a one-time change that we want you to try, and hopefully it'll help you continue to play with whatever issues you might be having, or it might help you gain some distance if it's a situation where we know we're not going to get a lot of internal rotation back. Some other issues are significant arthritis or labral issues in the hip, hip repairs, different things along that nature or along those lines where the inherent ability for you to get that rotation back may not be as realistic, or it may be somewhat limited. So some good opportunities for you to just make that simple change in your setup posture, and then you'll see how if I start here, I'm going to have a harder time getting my pelvis to rotate through because it requires more internal rotation. If I toe out slightly and I come through. Now I'm able to get that pelvis a little bit more cleared and through like I want. And again, because I've widened my base of support, I feel a little bit more balanced on that lead leg. So give that a shot. Let us know what you think and if it helps. Certainly, like I said, it's great to be proactive about these things and do something far beyond just the setup posture change. You can work actively on hip mobility, hip strength, single leg balance, glute strength, core, all these things. We definitely can actively work on, but this is for you in the meantime to try and see how it does for your game. Hopefully it'll help you play longer, feel better, and hit farther.